Well, sometimes you can start slow and sprint back. That's exactly what the Los Angeles Rams are in the midst of right now. Winners in 7 of their last 9, 8-6 on the season, and now a 50% projection to make the playoffs. That could be either chasing down a 7 seed or making their way all the way back in the division. Now just a half game off the Seahawks with a head-to-head coming between those two in Week 18. Back at it with Emory and the Mac here to talk a little bit down the road here for LA. Far different proposition than what they were looking at even just a month ago. We saw them with a statement win against Buffalo, and now not the prettiest win, but doing it in different ways in the rain against a rival. How do you feel about the Rams right now and their playoff chances, not just to make it, but as Mac says, to flip some tables, move some chairs?
Yeah, I feel good about it because they're balanced on offense, and we talked about this in the pregame. They're not only balanced on offense, they're playing complementary football as a whole. So the defense is turning the ball over. We saw that tonight. That was a big reason why they were able to come out with a win. And they're healthier than they were at the start of the season. And because they've turned the ball over, they were +1 tonight. So that's 12 turnovers since they turned things around. And on offense, they can hit you with the run game. They got depth now. Their passing game is where it needs to be. So they could potentially be a serious player, not only getting to the postseason, but in the postseason as well. Because, again, they do have a matchup with Seattle coming up. That's going to be a huge game. They got another divisional game against Arizona. And a team that they're chasing, Washington, has a game against Philly. And that could be potentially a spot for them to steal away from the Commanders if they slip up against the Eagles.
And I'll say this much, Emory, you laid it out perfectly for us in terms of the routes for the Rams to get into the playoffs. But don't just close that door on the Rams winning their division as well. Because you talked about Seattle. They still have Seattle, the very, very last game of the season there in La La Land in L.A. Seattle has the Green Bay Packers coming to their turf this Sunday. Green Bay's a very, very talented team, and you know the Green Bay Packers are trying to get back in the winning column based on what happened a week ago in Detroit. And outside of that, look at the Rams' schedule. Next week, they travel to the Jets. They travel to the New York Jets. Now, granted, anything can happen, but when you look at the New York Jets, especially if the Jets lose this weekend to the Jacksonville Jaguars, they may have all their bags packed and ready to hit Cancun, Tulum, or wherever destination they're trying to hit during the offseason. So you talk about the Jets, home against Arizona, home against Seattle. Those final 2 games, or that final game, may be the tell-all in terms of who will win the division in the NFC West.
Let's take a look at that playoff picture one more time, because I'm just looking at it right now, and obviously you got teams at the top of this picture like the Lions and the Eagles, perhaps more complete than the Rams, but find me the quarterback that's done it. Find me the head coach that's done it. The Rams have the experience. You get in with a head of steam. Let's say you win out. It's 5 in a row, 6 in a row if I'm not mistaken, going into the playoffs with a quarterback who knows what it takes to get through that tournament, a head coach who knows what it takes and is always going to have a game plan. This is a live Rams side, and I will applaud Bryant McFadden, who made this point, I believe, at 3 wins, Mac. You were saying, don't sleep on L.A. L.A.'s still a thing.
And to your point, when you look at the entire graphic of teams that potentially can get into the tournament, that was a key question you asked, Joe. Name me a coach who's better. Right? I've been raving about Sean McVay the entire season. I understand he's not coaching the team with the best win-loss record in the National Football League. But I do believe he's the best coach in the league, clearly in the NFC. I'm sorry, I'm not going to disrespect the great Andy Reid in the thick mustache. But in terms of NFC, Sean McVay is the best. To your point, he's been to the promised land twice. He's lost, he's won. He understands and he knows how to get it done. Look at what he did last year. How did he get to the playoffs? I don't know, because he's a great coach. And don't forget, guys, they were a possession away from beating the Detroit Lions, one of the more talented teams in the NFC. So, yes, if they can get into the playoffs, that is the team you do not want to face, either they're on their home turf if they win the division or if they come into your territory, because they can care less about anything. In the words of the young kids today, walk into your trap, take over your trap. Sean McVay does not mind doing that at any given time in the playoffs.
I think they'd like it in their own trap. Obviously, last week, a different circumstance, a different type of ball game, but in L.A., that high-flying offense gets going. You can control a little bit more of the variables than you can, let's say, on a night like tonight where they survive and advance here past a division rival in the San Francisco 49ers. Plenty of top-tier football coming our way that's going to have big-time playoff implications this week. Emory, what's the one you've got circled this weekend?
Essentially a playoff elimination game between the Colts and Broncos. Talk about these two teams and what we thought they were going to be in the preseason to where they were mid-season to where they are now. Man, we got action, folks. We got the Broncos who have been finding ways to win games. The Colts have gotten back into the fight, and they're playing some clutch games down the stretch. So this is going to be an interesting matchup because Indy has the offense. We've seen Anthony Richardson kind of grow up and find ways to win games late when the game is on the line, and we've seen the Broncos kind of find ways to win as well with Bo Nix, and he has gotten the confidence now of like, hey, I'm a guy that you got to talk about as one of the top 10 players at the quarterback position this season in the league because of how well I'm playing as a rookie. Now, styles make fights. We saw that Broncos defense give up a lot of yards to Jameis Winston in the passing game. Can the Colts receivers, who have some talent there as well, take advantage of that? So that's going to be the matchup. That's the playoff elimination game I can't wait to watch.
Yo, Emory, I'm right there with you. I'm lockstep. You're talking about an elimination game. That's solely more so for the Colts because you look at where they sit now record-wise, they're 6-7, right? So if you lose this ball game, you're 6-8. It's going to be a daunting task to be able to get into the top 7 for the tournament. For the Denver Broncos, even if they lose, they still have an opportunity because they will have a better win-loss record than the Colts, which is the next best team on the outside looking in. But if you're Denver, to your point, you want to continue to thrive and find ways to win ball games because you don't only want to solidify your seat in the tournament, you want to go ahead and try to move up as possible as well because the team that is sitting above them is the Los Angeles Chargers with the same identical record. Guess who face off against each other next Thursday? The Chargers and the Denver Broncos. So if Denver can take care of their business at home against the Colts, who will be coming off a bye, they're sitting in a prime position to my point, like I like to say, flipping over tables and moving chairs in terms of facing off against the Los Angeles Chargers next week as well. So this is a very, very intriguing game. I love the similarities between both organizations. You know, when you look at Sean Payton, when you look at what they're doing offensively, when you look at the young quarterback in Bo Nix with the young quarterback in AR, Anthony Richardson, there's a lot going on, but this could be an elimination game for the Colts if they don't take care of their business.
I tell you what, there's a small little piece of smoke coming out. If we look at that playoff bracket once again to see what I'm talking about, right? There's a little bit of something, maybe not loud.
Are you about to do the Miami thing?
Yeah, a little bit.
Like the Miami thing, huh?
Look at number 4. They do own the head-to-head against the Colts, the Texans. But do we feel confident the Texans are playing consistent ball?
I haven't felt confident about the Texans all season long.
So that's something intriguing to watch as well, too. But we got to see how it all plays out.
It's the beauty of it. Only one way to find out. What'd you say it was? It was Chargers and Broncos next Thursday. Hopefully they got a touchdown for us, huh?
Let's hope so.
We got plenty of touchdowns coming this weekend on CBS and streaming on Paramount Plus. Chiefs and Browns as the Chiefs look to keep the inside track to that 1 seed. The Bills trying to bounce back, and it's a massive matchup in the Motor City at 4:25. The Lions and the Bills.